Okay. Good. Welcome back to the HVN Network, and welcome, of course, to another installment of This Is Silly, the show where we attempt to highlight some of the absurdities in the everyday mainstream news and sort out some of the stuff and arrive at the ultimate conclusion of what in the hell is happening. Why is it funny? And more importantly, what we can do about it. And of course, with us as sometimes is our bona fide studio audience. Oh, good afternoon.
Sparkly rocks. Yes, I said sparkly rocks. You. Yes, you. Listen up. There might be gold in them there rocks. Wouldn't you like to own some sparkly rocks? I think you would. Sparkly rocks. They might contain tiny amounts of gold. Maybe. Probably not.
It's a rock.
How do I turn this thing off?
Welcome to another installment of This Is Silly, the show where we attempt to highlight some of the absurdities and some of the things that we hear in the mainstream media and on the radio and attempt to get to the bottom of what's actually happening and see if there is anything actually happening. And if there is, dissect it and hopefully make some fun of it. And that's going to be a pretty tall order considering you look like a bona fide crazy person. Shut up! So, round one. Today is Sunday. On or about Wednesday of last week there, we started hearing some things on the radio. Of course, the radio in Canada is exclusively owned by the NFL and... well, not necessarily all of it now, just most of the shows. And most of the advertising. Most of the radio channels seem to be parroting the same type of ads and the same type of news cycle and circuit. Oh my god, have we ever heard of that before? No, of course not, because when you have one entity own a majority percentage of the media and advertising in the country, of course nothing's going to go wrong. Of course we can just, trust the stuff that they say. And of course none of it'll be silly. Well, I beg to differ. Some of this is extremely silly. Yeah, and I just have to interject that you look extremely silly talking about it. Shut up! Anyway, so, of course, first off, who and what is a Patrick Brown? And how do we deal with that? Oh my god. Okay, where's the fucking thing? Good. Patrick Brown. So, of course, to stay consistent with mainstream journalism, we are going to type Patrick Brown into Google, and we are going to base the entirety of our opinion and the entirety of our knowledge of the situation and the entirety of all the information that's available. We are going to infer that Google will lead us right. Right? Sure. Okay, so, Patrick Brown's Twitter. La 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 la. Looks perfectly normal, except you see that weird, dazed, starstruck kind of expression on him? He's got that pretty much all the time there, and he's not very photogenic. In fact, if I were to be walking along the street and see a yard sale hosted by such an individual, I am questionable as to whether I would want to buy anything from him or whether I would trust his assertions about whatever it was I was looking at. This does not bode well for a political figure. Nonetheless, anyway, 9th of May 2015. Okay, he's pinned a bunch of tweets from very long time ago. Sit down with the former Canadian Finance Minister Wilson. Okay, as you see, scrap the Green Energy Act. Good call. He's a conservative. Wasteful Green Energy Act. Sounds good. And not to mention a patently absurd thing to ask Canadians to pay for. Invest in rural broadband and cell coverage. Sure. Infographics. There's him staring at someone. MPP Ernie Hardman. Looking at this guy. Whatever.
Hear ye, step right up and buy a red hat like this. I think you used to be able to order them from the Northern Store. I don't know if you still can, I guess that was eaten. But, buy one. Or more importantly, please buy this. It's really good. It's really good. It's really good. It's really good. It's really good.
So anyway, today is Sunday. In honor about Wednesday of last week, we began to hear on the radio, we began to hear the rumblings of allegations. He has been alleged to have committed some type of sexual misconduct or something like this. However, what would be a really good thing to do is to find the actual statements involved and find the actual questions. And one good precedent to set might in fact be to punitively damage people based on things that are proven rather than, let's say, allegations. But both you and I know, and been around the block enough times to know that that's not how the progressive attack machine works, let alone the mainstream media. But that's not quite how this situation is unfolded. So first, the allegation. Let's see if we can actually get down to the heart of the matter. Let's see if we can get at anything. Patrick Brown, what we know about the Ontario politician accused of sexual misconduct. From Global News. And look, if all of your sources are fake news, people are going to start to think that you yourself are fake news. Fuck.
Shut up!
Above, Patrick Brown denies sexual misconduct allegations, calls them categorically untrue. But again, he's got that deer in the headlights kind of look about him, and this is why people don't really trust him. Just months before a provincial election, Patrick Brown stepped down as Ontario Progressive Conservative leader early Thursday morning amid allegations of sexual misconduct. Brown, 39, announced his resignation in a statement following a hastily called media conference in which he categorically denied the false allegations. Okay. What's being said about him? CTV story published Wednesday. 2 women accused Brown of sexual misconduct that dates back to when he was a member of parliament. This is years and years and years ago. The women's identities were not revealed. Well, if this is a legitimate thing, then that would be a good course of conduct. However, we're not 100% sure about that because there has been no trial, there has been no investigation as of yet. Right now, we're still in the stage of allegations. But I mean, in general, and to be fair, the mainstream media of Canada runs pretty much entirely on allegations. There's allegations, and then we condemn somebody. We've watched it over and over again.
Shut up!
And so this is what the problem is. Concerning editing and all that, I just came up with this miraculous idea. Okay, so, literally, if you are going to film something, and then do the base editing of the footage, and then do the production of that, and then do the syndication of that, and then do the post-production of that, and be a studio, and a writer, and an author, and an actor, and... That's one hell of an allegation. That's one hell of an allegation. You see, until something's proven in a courtroom, we reserve our right to be skeptical, slightly. There's this huge wave of this Me Too happening right now, and I would have to ask, to whose benefit? To whose benefit is it to oust Patrick Brown right now as the leader of the Progressive Conservatives? Progressive Conservatives. Yes, I know, that's a joke in and of itself. But we'll get to that in a minute. I mean, seriously, at this bloody rate, you're never going to get to anything. Just milling around in circles. Like a crazy person. So again, this is Global News reporting on what CTV News has said. Instead of either of them finding some base facts in the matter, they're reporting on what each other said. Okay. Another tip that we here at the High Vis Network can take into account as we attempt to legitimize ourselves and join the political conversation. We're going to start making a statement and then making an editorial about the statement and then taking that as base information and running with it. Why not? Everyone else is doing it. Jesus. CTV News said it had viewed records of correspondence between Brown and the woman. None of the allegations have been proven in court. Big thing right here. None of the allegations have been proven in court. what Brown is saying? Well, Brown, most likely, to paraphrase, is saying, I didn't do it. However, not 2 days later, he has decided to resign. Here's him resigning.
Masterclass last night on how not to respond to these kind of allegations. You know, when we first watched it, I was struck by the fact that Mr. Brown then allowed himself to be chased through the halls of Queen's Park, down the stairwells, and out the front door and into that car. And my first thought was, where in the world is his staff to marshal this sort of thing? That kind of circus
did everyone run away?
To happen, but then within moments, I realized what had happened as we got word of the mass resignation of his senior campaign team. He didn't have any staff anymore. Right. There was no staff there for him.
I mean, it's not like I or anyone I know would ever claim to know anything about anything, but this seems a tad suspicious.
Shut up!
So far are unproven in a court of law, and yet we have a real physical response to this thing. He has stepped down as the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party at a time when the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario needs one hell of a leader. Now, I mean, the rumblings within the party itself and within the people that have been following this type of thing, he's not exactly the leader that we wanted. Everyone was worried that he's a liberal plant. I'm still worried that he's a liberal plant. And yet what I'm hearing over here is that we shouldn't just lambast someone based on the assertions of others. You're incredibly quaint.
Shut up!
Screw all this. Let's see more of that commercial. Giver. Grab yourself some yard sale cameras and fire yourself on the internet and see what happens. It's fantastic. It's a wonderfully soul-maiming experience, and I highly endorse it. We live in times when allegations in and of themselves are the damning action. If we base our political witch hunts on just allegations before they have been verified, proven in a court of law, codified into any type of coherent picture, look, if you just keep looking at the mainstream media's shitstorm, you're just going to keep finding more of the same thing. My goodness.
Shut up!
That's absolutely not what I came here for. I came here to hear some opinions on this. Quickly from Ontario PC leader to yesterday's man. Updated 1 day ago. Published on January the 26th. In a span of a few hours on Wednesday night, Patrick Brown went from having an entire party machine at his back to being the loneliest guy in Ontario. Speak for yourself. I beg to differ, my friends. Go live out in the forest. Go live in physical, social, and intellectual isolation and see how you deal with it. Yeah, seems to have done you a world of good. He had brought in his chief of staff, campaign director, messaging guru. Yeah, that's someone that sits around and makes fun of the stuff you say. Messaging guru? What, somebody teach you how to use Twitter so you don't say something stupid? Well, now, wait a minute. You mean I could be getting paid for doing this? We're out of the door before CTV's report about his alleged sexual misconduct had aired. Oh my goodness, they ran away. That's not suspicious at all. He thought they would be alongside him as he delivered the emergency statement they helped script. Instead, he ran from the cameras alone, learning afterward that they had announced their resignations on Twitter while he was speaking. No, this doesn't reek of any type of coordinated attack effort whatsoever. I'm sure this is all legitimate. Of course it's legit. It's on the internet, right? Ah, Globe editorial. He can protest his innocence, but ultimately he had to go. Why does the Globe and Mail care about this? They just want to get rid of him. Then the caucus he led, singing his praises publicly until that day, instructed him to step down by dawn. Now, having already chosen his replacement, some of them want him out of caucus altogether. But I mean, that sounds like a crazy conspiracy.
Shut up!
In fact, if you said it a few weeks ago, people might have thought you were nuts. So in the span of 2 days, it went from allegations to they've already chose to get rid of him anyway. Or did they choose to get rid of him anyway, and then there were the allegations? See, I mean, that's what it is. It sounds like a crazy conspiracy, right? Hopefully an ongoing investigation will come to the bottom of some of this. I'm not holding my bloody breath. Nah, me neither. People are crazy, man. Crazy. And as Mr. Brown disappeared for parts unknown, different sides of the Me Too debate were left to complain about how the provincial progressive conservatives responded to the party's movement in the movement's spotlight. Right. It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy to have the leader of your political party not look like an asshole.
I mean, like, that's pretty much propaganda.
Which for someone like Patrick Brown, it's very, very, very difficult if you are charged with the task of having him not look like a deer in the headlights.
And so, regardless of the veracity of the claims and the terrible optics, one hypothesis is that this person has been railroaded.
So for all those who complain about the lack of due process,
of which I may unfortunately end up calling myself part, it looked like the latest instance of execution without a trial. How is it fair that two women accusing him of sexual misconduct while they were teenagers didn't have to publicly reveal their identities, and he lost his career and reputation without being able to defend himself? To understand why neither criticism really holds up, but those are valid criticisms. Why do they not hold up? It helps to know some backstory.
Oh no, this sounds like a tangent.
And even as it might help answer the questions about the party's recent handling of the mess, that context raises others about what is allowed into fester for so long in the first place. As a federal MP, he and a few conservative colleagues styled themselves frat boys and made a show of partying with much younger women. Can we just look at a picture of this guy again? Okay? This is not a frat boy. Not 100% sure what they mean by a frat boy, but this guy is not a frat boy. Maybe he was part of a fraternity.
Okay, so anyway, this conversation's derailing, so I urge you to join in for more of it at another time.
Shut up!
Yeah, it's probably also way too much to edit.
Hey, yeah, this absolutely is way too much to edit.
Yeah.
Stop filming things!
Okay, let's use that.